tripod's actually in the water, but I'm on a boulder, and as long as I sit here, the longer I sit here, the chances you're going to see an eagle is about 120%. The chances a bear is going to come walking out is probably about a 90% chance, I guess. I think I've got around a dozen different bears on my cameras near this spot right here so far. I'm only about, I don't know, I'm like 1 minute from the house. And it's an interesting, very interesting, game-rich place right here. It's just so full of life, it's ridiculous. Sockeye salmon are in this river right now. We finally got some rain for the first time in probably 2 months or a month and a half yesterday, so the wildlife's a little more active. Had a half a dozen deer in the yard, broad daylight. I went out to the coast and did my thing filming, and one thing that I'm going to show, and I just couldn't manage to get any videos made while I was away. Just couldn't. It's just too much to do, and it just wasn't good timing. So I got home yesterday after getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and battling away in the ocean for a day, and then came all the way back home. And now I am going to get some of these emails out, and some of them are freaking incredible. And I'm still reading some up-to-date sent emails. I don't have a microphone. I'm using the Sony camera today. And the Sony camera, it could probably pick up a mouse fart from 100 yards away. So I would imagine that the river sound behind me is going to be a little more exaggerated on the camera. Nothing I can do about it today, right? No. If that annoys you, well, oh well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. Something, anything on here annoys somebody in the planet. There's no getting out of it. Everything from the introduction too long. I've even had people blow a gasket because a video was 44 minutes long instead of 20, and they didn't have time to watch it. It was my fault. They were actually emailed me to tell me that. Anyway, before I start going on the crazy side of the planet, talks. Let's get into it. I hope I don't drop my phone in the water. Although I do need a new one. This one's cracked all over the place. I've had enough of it. Now, what do we have here? Let me know if the bear comes behind me too, eh? Alright. Actually, I gotta go back down here. You know, I tried reading some on the boat the other evening. It was absolutely impossible. But one unfortunate thing that I did do was I started reading an email and reading it, and reading it, and reading it, and reading it, to the point I was getting ready to tap out, and then finally went into the encounter part for a little bit, and then started reading, and then I said, okay, now on to my second encounter, and then I scrolled up, and I swear, this email was probably twice as long as the longest email I've ever received ever in history. And I was actually kind of upset because I had wasted so much time reading it. The amount of time I spent reading that email, just to get to the first encounter, the part that we need to hear about, the part that hopefully the person needs to get off their chest, was probably the length of 3 emails that I would have shared for all you guys. So if you're listening, you're thinking about sending in your experience, make sure you listen to my words when I say, we need to A, help you get something off your chest, and that's about your experience, all right? Nobody has to email me their background, their history of wildlife, camping, growing up in the woods, catching a mouse when they were 7, etc. It doesn't matter. I'm not here, I don't question anybody. I'm not questioning, you don't need to validate yourself by saying that you've seen this and seen that and grown up here and grown up doing that. We all have, we all get it. I want you to get straight to the meat of your experience, get it off your chest, get it shared, and or the knowledge that you acquired from your experience that you feel that people here on this channel will benefit from. That's what we're after, okay? Absolutely appreciate everything you send, everybody, but we definitely need you to get straight to the point. Just get to the goods, all right? That's about all I needed to share on that note. But now I have to go back on a handful of shares that I did make, that I did mark as read, and they're not going to get put in a video because that email destroyed it. Sorry. Babbling. Here we go. All right. Titled, I'm probably nuts. You probably are nuts, but so am I, and so is everybody else. So you're good. You're in a safe place to be nuts. Steve, I live in a somewhat rural part of southeast Virginia. Other than the great dismal swamp, I would never imagine cryptids living in this part of the country. However, I have these incidents around and behind my house. I live on a 777-acre lake that is surrounded by woods and farmland. We moved in 1987, and although we never had a dramatic experience, I now look back over the list of strange occurrences and wonder. First, our neighbor, whose house is actually in the woods, who sit in a field, went to let his dog out late at night. Something roared from the woods so loud that the dog, a 90-pound male lab, refused to go outside. He just hunkered under the kitchen table. This neighbor now does not remember this ever happening. That's odd. Later, a friend of mine was fishing in a boat back on the lake. I was cutting grass up by the house. I was going to join him later. He comes trotting back out to the house in an odd state. I asked him what was wrong, and he acted very distant. I finally pried from him that he had seen something large and black moving through the woods while he was fishing. I suggested a black bear, perhaps, and he shook his head no. He refused to go back there again unless I was with him. He now does not remember this ever happening. That's weird as shit. This is why I'm writing you, because I think it is strange that these people do not recall these dramatic events. I value your 2 cents more than most. Do you hear this type of thing from other folks? Shortly after the previous incident, I went back to the lake and found my plastic pontoon boat, the kind Bass Pro used to sell lots of, destroyed. Someone or something had taken chunks off concrete from the nearby reinforced trail embankment and thrown them through the bottom of this hard plastic boat. I asked my dad, I was a teenager this time, what kind of a person could throw a 1-pound object hard enough to bust out the bottom of that boat? Furthermore, how did they know that we weren't going to come over the hill and catch them doing it? It was a very odd scene. Not long after this, something tore into my rabbit cage and killed both my rabbits. My dad was the first in the scene and reported to me later that a local husky had done it. He seemed unusually uncomfortable about it all, and I still had a hard time believing that a dog could have torn open the cage like that. Steve, the list goes on, and includes tree knocks while fishing the lake, trees falling back in the woods when my wife or I walk the dog, trees I have planted being pulled straight out of the ground a day after being planted, etc., etc. No one in my family has ever reported seeing anything like Sabe, though. I know Scott Carpenter would tell me that I'm not crazy. These beings can, in fact, live just 4 miles from a Dunkin' Donuts, but I still find it hard to believe. God bless, I pray for you often, brother. You have a ton of us Christians in your fan base. Thanks for being so considerate of our worldview. Use my name if you want, Jerry Coggeshall. Jerry, thanks so much for that email, man. And like I said, you've heard me say it to other people. You know what it is. You know what it was. And the Dunkin' Donuts mentioned, you know what? I've had a direct experience of these things with 3 other people about, as the crow flies, maybe 3/4 of a mile behind a McDonald's in Pembina, British Columbia. And there's a lot of sightings in that general zone. It doesn't matter where you are. It can happen anywhere, from what we've all seen, right? Thank you for the kind words and the words of encouragement. Appreciate you and your time you took to share this. What is it? Better details. Alright. Oh, this is a follow-up, I think. Hey Steve, hope all is well. I wrote you about a week ago and went back and read it, and I need to give more detail. I didn't want to be long-winded. My name is Cathy. I live in Halifax County, Virginia. My entire family has always been a big outdoor people. Hunting, fishing, frog gigging, canoeing, etc. I also had a traumatic brain injury from an accident at work. Multiple head fractures. Ouch. So if I misspell or say something a little off, I apologize. It's all good. Let her rip. 4 experiences without any sightings for myself. Anyway, about 40 years ago, I'm 53 now, after a day of hunting and cleaning deer, our aunt always packaged the deer for us. We picked it up the next day. Me and my brother were walking home from my aunt's about a 1/4 mile from our home. It was a dark night, no moon, hard to see. Both of us had our 12 gauge thrown over our shoulders. As we walked, we both started to feel uneasy, so we went to a slow jog. We had a ditch we had to jump just as we got to the edge of the yard. My brother was faster than me, so he was ahead by about 100 feet. As I jumped the ditch, I heard a sudden movement as if it was coming toward me. I yelled at my brother to wait up, and he did. We went into the house and put up our guns. My grandparents had went to visit someone and was not home yet. In those days, we never locked our doors. No need to. Everyone in the area was trustworthy and looked out for one another. My brother went and took a shower, and I just felt uneasy, as if someone was watching me. Something kept telling me to lock the door. I finally listened to my instinct and did. My brother went upstairs to his room. I took my shower. A really quick one, still feeling uneasy. Also pulled all the shades down in the house, just did not shake the feeling I was being watched. I laid down in my grandparents' bed, waiting for them to get home. I heard the doorknob rattle, thinking it was my imagination. I laid there very still. I heard it rattling harder. I eased out of the bed and crawled to the stairs from my grandparents' bedroom. The house was old, and I made it where you could walk in a circle and go through all the rooms. You could see the side door from the stairs. I got to the stairs and eased up on them. Sit on the bed beside my brother and told him someone's trying to get in the door. He laughed at me and told me it was my imagination. I continued to sit there so scared, almost in tears. He agreed to come down. We eased back down the stairs and he sat in the bedroom with me. The doorknob rattled again. We then crawled to the den/living room, which was separated by 2 French doors with glass panes. He looked through the French doors and he said he saw a tall man with his face against the top window panes of the side door. He said they had a really wide nose, dark skin, and looked like he was as wide as the door. He said they filled the door up. He said his hair stood on his head. He was whispering for me to bring him a gun. All the while, the doorknob still rattling. As I gave him the gun, we could hear a car coming down the road. He said the thing ducked down, but could still see its head through the bottom window panes. The top panes were about 7 to 8 feet up, and lower panes were about 3 to 4 feet in height. Anyway, it was my grandparents. They pulled in. It ran off the porch toward the backyard. My brother ran outside as they pulled in and got my grandparents to pull around the yard, shining headlights everywhere. Never saw anyone or anything. About a week later, I went to stay with another aunt that lived about 5 miles away. It had just gotten dark. My uncle went to bed. We were each laying on opposite ends of the sofa watching TV. All of a sudden, my aunt jumps up, screaming, "What the hell?" I jump up, ask, "What is it?" She said, someone was pressing their face against the bay window of the trailer, staring in. I ran outside, walked to the end of the trailer to see if I saw anything. If I saw anything, C was on the front porch. He was on the front porch watching and telling me to get inside. When I got to the end of the trailer, I heard someone charge toward me. I got my ass back inside quick. My uncle had gotten dressed by the end and he grabbed a kitchen knife and went outside to see if he saw who it was. I heard him yell, "Get over here, what are you looking for?" He then ran in the trailer and told his wife to run to his mom's house, which was in the same yard as the trailer, and call the police. She wouldn't go alone as they both ran over. So they both ran over. I didn't run with them for some reason. As I realized I was by myself, I could hear bumping against the trailer. I sit on the floor in the living room. My aunt ran back in, apologizing for leaving me. Then I heard shots fired. My aunt and I waited. My uncle came in and said there was a 7 to 8 foot tall, really large man wearing what seemed to be a dark brown trench coat, jumped up from behind the big bush and started running across a field behind the house. It was mid-July. He shot in the air 3 times. Cops came and took a report, pulled down and rode through the field, never got out of the car. He said we probably scared them off. That was all he did. I was scared to walk anywhere by myself for a long time after that. He had not thought much about it until I was watching your show and he started listening to the descriptions of Bigfoot with the height, build, wide nose, and made me wonder if that was what it was. Thanks for listening. Cathy, thanks for sending that in. And you did very well writing that out, alright? And you know what it was. Nothing else fits that description, and the actions of that dude were the same as what probably thousands of other ones have done to thousands of other people around North America and other parts of the world. It is what it is. I don't know why they do it. Haven't a clue. Is it entertainment? Probably. I mean, what do we do when we see rabbits or mice in a cage? The cage being a house, right? We go up and put our faces right in there, and if nothing's moving, we tap in the cage. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? That bush behind me on their side of the river is where I titled that video. Did I take a picture or something? And that's where that was, right back behind me. Maybe I'll take another picture of it again and compare. Or not. Whatever. It doesn't really matter, does it? It actually doesn't really matter. Not after you've seen them. It's not much, but all I know. My husband came home from an all-night fishing jaunt. We lived in Ohio, small town of Logan. He was anxious to tell me about the splashing at the shore's edge. Thought it was a fish. They rowed in that direction until they spotted a large black form. When they realized it was a Bigfoot, they instantly turned the boat to a different direction. Another time they were packing up their gear when they heard a noise. They turned to the back of the car. They could not get in and away from there quick enough. Bigfoot was at the back end of the car. I don't remember any descriptive statements he may have used, but I can tell he was very upset this time. He re-entered the Army and we moved to Texas Fort Hood. We lived in a trailer park on a hill in Copperas Cove. He used to drive back that way to the fort when going and coming from work. He came home numerous times telling about Bigfoot. He would see him crossing the road. I used to wonder, why not me? Why do I never see him? Time passed. I came back to my lovely Michigan. Born and raised here, missed my big beautiful trees. Met a man, married, and moved north. Marion is the little village. I drove into Cadillac, where I usually do my main grocery shopping. Driving home was through farmland and by the woods. As I came around the last curve before my street, a large and wide piece of farm machinery was coming my way. As it approached, I could see around it. There was a tall, hairy figure crossing the road. At first sight, he was making a step with his right leg. As he took the next step with his left leg, his right shoulder turned to a bit, and his face turned to me. Oh, his right shoulder turned a bit, and his face turned to me, along with his left shoulder. When he saw me, he turned his face back and finished his step. When he took his next step, he was out of sight. It was a brief time that I saw him, but I was not upset by it. I was excited. He was dark reddish brown. I have no idea how tall he was, but only took him 2 or 3 steps across the road. I never had any other experiences, but never saw him or any others since. My husband found your site while I've been following you for about 1.5 years. Thank you, Steve. Catherine. Catherine, thanks for sharing your experience. It must be pretty bizarre to see one after hearing somebody you trust spot them numerous times, right? And then becoming aware they're real, and then all of a sudden seeing it. I wonder if accepting the existence of these things does enhance all the details you pick up and remember when you finally do have that experience yourself. I wonder if that's true or not. Because then your system might not be receiving the same shock it would as though you're one of those people who think it's a joke. And then you have to eat seeing one, right? Interesting topic, man. No bears yet. They're coming though. They'll be here. I don't know how many. I haven't swam in here for a while. I don't know how many salmon are in here, but there's a lot of bears patrolling this area right here. All right, here we go. It took 30 years. Yeah, Mark, this is rad. Well, it took 30 years and stumbling across your channel for me to put this together. It started in '93. I like to keep my name out of it for now. For you, my name is blank blank. I live in a small town right on the Missouri River and spent my life hunting and fishing. Not much else to do around here. In '93, me and a good friend of mine put his canoe in a creek. We had a major flood that year, so the creek was more like a small river. We got a canoe down to the mouth and do a little fishing. About halfway down, we came around a sharp bend and something jumped into the water. It sounded like a hippo had fallen out of a tree and made the biggest splash I'd ever heard. I had my Ruger 1022 with me, but I knew instantly it was going to be of no help to something this large. Of course, we tried and tried to come up with an explanation, but couldn't. Never saw anything besides waves and water flying in the air. Fast forward 10 years, half a mile from the first incident. Me and a buddy were bow hunting for whitetails one evening. It got to be about dark, and I walked back to the truck. About 30 minutes passed, and my buddy hadn't come out yet. I figured he had stuck one and was getting it dressed. Well, another 30 minutes passed and still nothing. He jumped out of the truck and was going to go look for him. Right then, he popped over the hill. He was running and completely out of breath. I asked him if the boogeyman was after him, and he said yes, and he jumped in the truck. He said when he walked in earlier that evening, he noticed something was following him off to his left. He hurried to his deer stand and was hoping once he was elevated, he'd be able to see what it was. Still couldn't see anything, but whatever it was pacing back and forth behind the stand in the woods. He was freaked out. Whatever it was wouldn't leave. It got dark, still wouldn't leave. He knew he couldn't stay there forever, so he finally got the courage to jump down and took off running. At first he thought it may have been a mountain lion. We don't really have mountain lions here. Fast forward 10 years. 3 miles up the road from that incident, I bought some ground and built a house for me and my family. I have about 300 acres to roam and hunt. Me and my son, who was 4 at this time, spent a lot of time hunting for arrowheads. One day we were on the ranger heading back to the house. As we came across the field, a bunch of deer took off. I didn't pay much attention, but my son was watching them. About that time, he said, something was chasing those deer. I said, was it coyotes? He said, no, it was big. I jokingly said, maybe it was a bear. He replied, no, it ran like we do. It didn't register at first, but once it did, my stomach dropped and I floored it. Fast forward 4 years. My son is 8 at this point. We were way in the back of the farm, arrowhead hunting in the creek. We'd gone up to a spot we hadn't been to yet. We came up on a little rock bar, and about that time something hit me in the shoulder. There was a little rock. Then another one came down and landed next to me. At first I figured it was a squirrel dropping acorns or something, and the rocks got bigger. My son then noticed what was happening and was getting a bit freaked out. I scanned the woods, the trees, and everything around us. Never saw a thing. So I decided to walk down the creek a little ways. We got about 50 yards from where we were, and the rocks stopped. So I decided to walk back up there. The rocks started hailing down again. Needless to say, we've hauled ass out of there. I've avoided that spot ever since. I've never seen anything, and I don't want to. About 6 months later, I was home alone one evening. I was in my baseball card room sorting through some old cards, and all of a sudden I heard a crazy noise that came from my back deck. It took me a few minutes, but I figured out what the sound was. I have a dog gate up against the steps of the deck and a heavy iron plant stand up against it to hold it in place. The sound was that plant stand sliding across my deck. I pretty quickly realized something or someone was on my deck. I jumped up, grabbed a 9mm, and started up the hall. This is the crazy thing. I was completely out of ammo. I'm never out of ammo. That day I shot my last shell from a damn muskrat that was destroying my dam. I was really freaked at this point. Over the next 20 minutes I was trying to see what it was without showing myself. I was able to turn on the deck light and could see about 3/4 of my entire deck. I finally decided to go grab a knife and worked up the courage to just go out there. As soon as I turned to head back down the hall, I heard 2 steps, and then I heard the plant stand roll across the deck. I turned around to the window where I could see the steps coming off my deck. The steps are steep, and there's a lot of them. I saw nothing. Nothing running across the yard, nothing on the steps. It was maybe 2 seconds from the time I heard the steps until I got to the window. I saw nothing. I convinced myself it was a coyote or a raccoon or something. The next day I reloaded ammo and haven't been without since. Do they know I don't have any ammo? Did they know I didn't have any ammo? Will they come inside the house? Lord, I hope not. The most recent thing that has happened was just a few weeks ago. My sister went on vacation, but we were dog sitting for her. About 4 a.m., her dog jumped up on the bed and started growling. I was telling him to be quiet and go back to sleep when I noticed that he was growling. What he was growling at. From my bed, you can see into the kitchen and right out the window over a sink. It was a faint yellowish light, almost like someone was walking with an old flashlight. The light then started to get brighter and closer. The dog was locked on and growling like he was ready to attack. I was trying not to piss my pants. This light went from a small dot to consuming the whole window. I thought it was coming through the window, and just like that, it was gone. Up until now, I've always tried to convince myself that these things are not connected and can be explained away. After finding your channel, listening to all the other stories, I am convinced. Thanks for what you're doing, my friend. This channel gives me a little peace of mind. I'm not sure you truly understand just how many lives you have impacted in a positive way. If you're ever in Midwest, I have a never-ending supply of 160 plus bucks you're welcome to. All right. Thanks. P.S. So sorry to hear about Mr. Macaroni. Stay strong, keep your middle finger up to the asshats that sit in our government seats. Wow. Joe, thanks for that share, my man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the invite to whack some bucks. And that's pretty unnerving having family and having some slide the frickin' planter across the deck as the gate gets open in the night and you got no ammo. That would really suck ass. Something pacing behind you, a tree stand while you're up in the tree, that would really suck ass too. I remember spooking myself out in rural Alabama in one of those swamps, sitting in an old oak tree stand, listening intently. And when you start hearing those oak leaves crunching, man, the imagination will go wild. We don't hunt that. I don't hunt that way here. It was always amazing to me to hear just how loud an armadillo could be in the forest down there, or whitetail, or whatever, right? Anyway, thanks for sharing that. Sending that in and sharing it with all the people through me, all right? And yeah, you're correct. There is a shit pile of people learning and acquiring the feeling of relief from hearing all you share your honest experiences, right? But anyway, let's see if we've got one more in here. And then I'm going to have to go, and I'll probably be sharing more from the shop because I got to work in the shop today. It's this one. This isn't too long. All right, here we go. Ready? Long overdue. Mo Star, my man, Mo Star. Hi, Steve, call me TJ. All right, TJ. I have 3 experiences to get off my plate. It was a strange event that left us baffled. It was 1989 in the Stanislaus National Forest. My dad and his friend, myself and brother regrouped for lunch to talk about how the deer hunting went. We were all sitting there, and all of a sudden a young man in his 20s holding his rifle ran towards us, scared out of his mind. He was yelling, "It's after me," over and over again. The sound in his voice was primal fear. He never focused on us as he ran past. We got the cue from Dad as he reached over and grabbed his odd 6 and chambered around. We were all loaded up and had our heads on a swivel as the young man ran till he was out of sight. He never even considered us as a safe haven. 4-armed hunters? We never saw anything after him. We never saw him again either. I've never seen someone scared out of their minds like that since. Steve, I'd like to know if this man is here and remembers this event. It was between Long Barn and Cherry Lake. Yosemite Park is not far either. That area it happened at is called Borland Mountain in the D6 hunting zone. Second experience, this one is strange. It happened just a mile from the other story in the same remote Borland Mountain area. Trailhead named Box Spring, 2005. My 12-year-old son and I went on a night hike. We left the truck at the trailhead and started hiking at 9 p.m. I've done this night hike many times before, and it takes exactly an hour and 30 minutes to get to camp we call Christopher Lake. Just 10 minutes into our hike, I noticed birds flying towards us. Not sure why they did this, as if they were attracted to the lights or something to scare them towards us. Is at this time I felt confused. Confused because we were no longer standing on the trail. We were somehow in the bushes about 50 feet from the trail. It was as if we had sleepwalked into the bushes and woke up there. We were both perplexed. We finally arrived at our camp. Steve, the strange part was we got there at 11:45 p.m. We lost track of over an hour. Time we could not explain. Nothing else noted, just unable to account for the lost time. That's freaky. Third event. I've since moved to northern Idaho. I live in a small town. This happened early in April 2021. This experience shook me to the core. I still don't know what it was I saw. I was talking to my friend on the phone, sitting on the porch, and I heard my dog bark her head off. She never barks unless there's a good reason for it. I got up and headed to the side of the barn in a flanking direction. Still on the phone, I looked and saw her on the other side staring below, hilly terrain. I looked in the direction she was looking and saw something dark standing 8 feet tall. Steve, I've hunted the woods all my life and I could not believe my eyes. It was a huge dark shadow hiding behind one of my 9-foot pine trees. It was a thick, dark, smoke figure walking upright, not like a shadow on the ground. I said, and my friend heard me say, "What the F am I looking at?" In that instant, it fled away from me, towards a seasonal water drainage and disappeared. As it moved quickly away, I yelled, "In the name of Jesus, you're not welcome here." I don't know why I said that, or I don't know why I said that, but I did. After this, my dog came to me and noticed that all of her fur was standing up. I'd never seen her that worked up before. The next day, I got the nerve, headed down to the lower property and saw no tracks in the snow. Also, my property is enclosed by 5-strand barbed wire fences. Like that's gonna help. Steve, there's some strange shit going on here on our planet that no one seems to want to talk about. I'm so glad you're here for us to get this told, and it sure helps. I'll never venture into the woods at night ever again. I see the world through open eyes now. Sorry for Mr. Macaroni. Our critters give us love and understanding like no other. Take care, enjoy your new home. TJ from Northern Idaho. TJ, you're absolutely so right on the crazy shit going on. I'll tell you what, I've had it up to the nuts with people trying to stop everybody from talking about it, acknowledging it, and bringing it up publicly. Had it up to the nuts. I don't know if anybody's keeping tally, but how many people do you think have shared through me so far to date? I don't even know how many I share on average in an email. What is it, 5 or 6 or 7 or something? I don't know, I haven't a clue. I've never counted. I've never counted anything up. I've never added anything up. But the number of people who shared through me to get the word out to all of you is something else, right? It's pretty incredible. No denying it. Sure, I'm sure there's probably obviously there's going to be the odd nut bar who might write in and think it might be some kind of a conquest to send in a bullshit story, but I think somebody who was potentially that messed up between the ears, or their ego was so weak, that I think if they did manage to score getting the story read on here, they would not be able to shut up about it. They wouldn't be able to boast about it, right? And that's what I said before, when people say, I mean, I've heard some absolute morons. I've been forced to read something forwarded to me from some absolute idiots who want to be a big name in the Sasquatch Bigfoot community so bad, and they profess the reason they don't follow us, and they said this online, is because he doesn't vet the stories. I'm like, you know what I say to you, all of you who say that? I say this, up your ass, all right? There isn't a human being alive who qualifies to vet any story, any words that I hear or not in my lifetime. I'll be the judge. I'm intelligent enough to take from it what I will or leave it on my own. Thank you. For all you pussies out there who look down on someone who's sharing everybody's words no matter what, or everybody else to have the choice for themselves to take from it or leave it, you can ram it up your ass. Anyways, before I get going on that tangent, sorry about that. As I said earlier, if we did have somebody write in and then laugh later, how you get suckered in and sent you a false email, I don't really give a flying shit, because then we got them, then we have them, then I will make sure they are very well known to the world today, and what they do, if they did that, they would never be able to recover from it. They'd never be able to take that back. They would be known as an absolute major nutcase who is willing to lie to the public. Now we got them, so bring it on. I would love to hear from those people. I'd love to have somebody send me a false story that I can share with all of you, and then boast afterwards. It would be beautiful. I'm babbling. I'm pouring out coffee again. I gotta get going. I hope to God the sound, my audio from my voice came through okay. Anyway, I hope the audio came through clear enough for you guys to hear all these stories. I'm gonna move the camera again. Maybe do another one. Or actually, I think I'm gonna go to the shop. I'm gonna cut a great big hole in the shop. The sliding glass door is going to go into the accommodation suite. It's not a suite. It's just gonna be a place for guests and friends to stay. I'm gonna cut a hole in that wall today, and then probably sit in the shop and share some more from in there. All right. And we'll review and see what went on behind me, if anything. But I might come down here in the evenings. It's nice and cool. And I'll set up the camera again. And we'll catch some of these bears cruising around on the shoreline here for all you to watch, all right? But anyway, sorry, back to you, man. Just thanks for that share. Make sure you share more. If you come across knowledge that you feel will help the people here, get it into me, all right? It's very, very important. And if you have anything else you want to share that happens to you, hopefully nothing bad. And you just need that safe place. It's here, man. And share it here. Don't stop. And do not fear anyone or anything, all right? Talk to everybody shortly.